I want to transition now to the MLB. I don't talk about the MLB too often, but I do think that this is a compelling story. And there have been reports recently about the Los Angeles Angels and them potentially being willing to trade their star two-way player Shohei Ohtani. Now, the MLB trade deadline, it's fast approaching. August 2nd, which is next week, specifically next Monday or next Tuesday is when it's coming. And what we've known is that the Angels, unfortunately, have been kind of a constant disappointment over the last several years. In fact, this is an organization that has missed the postseason in 7 consecutive years. They're going on 8, but it's never been about the lack of star players or the lack of necessarily star talent. For whatever reason, the harmonies never existed. The unity has never been there. This team has never been able to gel. The personnel have never been able to kind of coagulate and actually become one hardened group. They've never been able to attain that type of team success that they've been seeking. And it's very perplexing as to why that is. But the fact that they have seemingly lacked that harmony and that unity has contributed to their losing seasons time and time again. Again, this is a team that hasn't had a lack of talent. They've had guys like, they still have Mike Trout. They've had guys like Albert Pujols, slightly past his prime, but still a very good player. Now they've got Shohei Ohtani. And you look at the Angels right now, they're 40 and 55 overall. They're 4th in the AL West. They have the 4th worst record in the American League. Their last postseason appearance came in 2014. They lost to the Kansas City Royals in the ALDS. Prior to that, the last postseason appearance came in 2009. They lost to the Yankees in the ALCS. And of course, their lone World Series title came in 2002, which feels like eons ago. So because of their team's struggles over the last several years, and especially this year, given the start that they had, then they fired Joe Maddon because of a 12-game losing streak, and now they're 15 games below 500. They're thinking about an implosion and trading away potentially some of their star players, which is the reason why they have finally began to entertain offers for Shohei Ohtani, because teams are starting to inquire about his availability. Now, what the Angels have made crystal clear is what their asking price is for Shohei Ohtani. And what they've come out and said is that they want established MLB players. They don't want prospects because they still want to maintain some relevancy. They still want to compete for a playoff berth. And they're not in the business of acquiring prospects to be good 4, 5, 6 years down the line. They still have Mike Trout for the moment, for the time being, at least, and they still want to be a competitive ball club. But this is the dilemma that GMs really in all major sports have and that they face, which is when your team is struggling, do you start to trade away your best assets to become a much more balanced, a much more well-rounded team? Do you sacrifice the star power for depth? Or do you sacrifice your star power for a future? Because what they'd be saying is if they're trading off Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout's probably next on the trading block, and that they clearly don't believe in that core group of 2 guys. And for me, I think that would be a mistake. I think you try to surround those 2 stars with as much talent as you can, because Shohei Ohtani is just 28 years of age. He's in his 5th year in the MLB. He's coming off an MVP season, a year in which he blasted 46 home runs, back-to-back all-star selections. He's having a career year as a pitcher this year, 2.80 ERA, the best of his career. He's on pace to collect the most strikeouts he's ever had in a season. But this is the aspect of Shohei Ohtani that hasn't been discussed enough. And really, it's the one of the few linchpins that's keeping baseball pretty relevant is the popularity of Shohei Ohtani. What the Angels can't underscore enough is what his presence alone means for the relevancy of the Angels. Shohei Ohtani is arguably the most popular baseball player right now in the MLB. That includes guys like Mike Trout on his own team. That includes Aaron Judge on the Yankees. That includes Mookie Betts on the Dodgers. As far as appeal and draw, Shohei Ohtani might be the biggest draw in baseball. There's a reason why the MLB keeps marketing him and deploying all these huge marketing efforts to him. He was the cover of the MLB baseball game last season. He has been featured in more commercials now. He is a big personality. The problem is he doesn't really speak English, so it's a little bit harder for the American youth to gravitate towards him because he doesn't resonate as much. They can't understand him unless he's got his translator or he says something terse in English. So that's the problem, is his future is so bright that for the Angels to trade him away, it's not just about the star power. It's not just about the appeal. You're talking about relevancy. You're talking about a microscope that you won't have without him. We've seen no one's really cared about the Angels, even with Mike Trout over the last several years. It's been when Shohei Ohtani has burst onto the scene that all of a sudden we've examined the Angels. We've talked about the Angels a lot more than we had in recent years. Not to mention, he's given no indication that he wants out of LA. It's not a Juan Soto in the Nationals type of situation where he's declined multiple multi-year offers from the Nationals. Shohei Ohtani has given no indication he doesn't want to be with the Angels. And I do think that's also very important. You want to keep guys that are not only stars, but that want to be with your organization. I do think that's really important. Here's the other factor that I think is going to be the biggest obstacle and hurdle for the Angels if they are truly interested or entertaining offers for Shohei Ohtani. No team is going to trade for Shohei Ohtani midseason. At the earliest, this is going to come in the offseason, because you look at the demands of the Angels and what they've requested. They want established MLB players. They don't want any prospects. So what would that mean? Well, what that would mean is that a team in title contention that views themselves in title contention and views themselves as one piece away from competing, they'd have to gut their roster and send back a lot of quality guys just to acquire Shohei Ohtani. And which team, there are no teams that are competing for a pennant title that would even entertain gutting their team to acquire him midseason. They want to stay competitive. They want to stay relevant. That wouldn't make any sense. So I think that's probably the biggest obstacle. And again, if you trade him and you're the Angels, what does your future look like? What does that say about the direction of your franchise? What does it mean for Mike Trout? Probably means Mike Trout is on the trading block. And if you're an organization, you're trading Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout, that would be a colossal failure in my eyes. So I don't envision them doing this. I think this is just smoke and mirrors. I think this is just a desperate move because the organization is flummoxed by their lack of success. But we'll see. The trade deadline is coming up next week, and we'll see what types of decisions are made.